Tonight on To The Point, a new approach.
We're still living on a river and anything is possible.
What a Delta community is doing with flood insurance to make sure they're all covered. Plus, a neighborhood on edge after postal keys were stolen from a local mail carrier. What this could mean for your service. And California's natural lakes are dying. Tonight in our week-long investigation, meteorologist Brendan Midchef travels to Lake Tahoe, where a changing climate and recreation is challenging keeping Tahoe blue. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell, and tonight we start with flood insurance. Not a lot of Californians have it, but others are required to get it. Some want it, but it's growing increasingly unaffordable. So tonight, ABC 10's Becca Habegger takes us to one small Delta town that's pioneering a whole new approach to make sure that their community is covered.
Welcome to Isleton, with a population of about 800 people.
The city is located on land that's entirely surrounded by rivers and sloughs, meaning they're at the mercy of the levees.
Second year I lived here, the water got right up to the bank over there. Looked like maybe a foot below it. I was very nervous, but my neighbor said, don't worry about it. I've seen it higher, so I trusted her and we got through it.
Iva Walton owns Maywa Beer Room on Main Street and moved to Isleton a decade ago. She's also on the city council and chair of the Delta Region Geologic Hazard Abatement District, or GAD, formed about 2 years ago to address flood risk and flood insurance in the city of Isleton.
Our risk is fairly low in a sense. We're still living on a river and anything is possible.
Long-timers here remember the devastating flood of 1972, when one of the levees surrounding the town broke, ushering in feet of floodwater. Isleton's Mayor Pam Boulahan was 9 when her family had to quickly evacuate. She wasn't available for an on-camera interview, but we spoke by phone.
She says she remembers seeing waves of water rushing across fields toward town. Her family was displaced for 2 years as they rebuilt.
Just recently, the California Department of Insurance announced Isleton is the first and only city in the state piloting a new community-based flood insurance initiative, funded for 2 years by a $200,000 grant from the California Department of Water Resources and implemented by GAD.
Less than half the people who live in Isleton have flood insurance, and they have a very real flood risk. So if something were to happen, it could be catastrophic.
We spoke by phone with UC Davis PhD candidate and researcher Kathleen Schaefer, who is driving this initiative. She says the pilot involves buying a community-wide flood insurance policy, and if floodwaters reach a certain level, all property owners in town will automatically get a payout upfront of up to $10,000 to spend on whatever they need in the immediate aftermath.
It would be a nice assurance that you're not just stuck high, well, I can't say high and dry, but low and wet. You're not just stuck, so there'd be a way to start taking care of yourself, your family, and your property.
Project leaders hope to buy that policy with the grant money by the end of the year.
We want to learn from this so that we can perhaps deploy it throughout the Central Valley.
For now, the pilot is grant funded, but Isleton voters will decide next year whether to continue to fund it through property tax.
Leaders of this pilot project are still working out the details, like how to include renters in this insurance policy. That and more they'll be working on in the coming months. In Isleton, Becca Habegger, ABC 10.
Meanwhile, the city of Stockton unveiled a new floodgate today. The Smith Canal Gate will provide flood protection to an estimated 8,500 properties currently located within a high-risk flood zone in central Stockton. The $96 million project began back in 2014 and will eventually be integrated into a lower San Joaquin River project. Tonight, mail for people living in the 95747, again, 95747 zip code could be at risk after a USPS mail carrier was robbed at gunpoint for their postal keys. So take a listen to this. The Roseville Police Department says the robbery was reported around 2:15 on Tuesday afternoon. It happened off Mockingbird Street. Officers say the USPS employee was approached by a suspect with a gun and demanded the postal keys. The keys that were stolen grant access to the mailboxes, again, in the 95747 area, and neighbors in the areas, they tell us that they are on edge.
It's honestly kind of concerning. Like, we order a lot of stuff online. We have a lot of like expensive stuff.
For the election is that I'm just going to use the opportunity to go somewhere else, like the main post office, to actually, mail in my ballot and everything. I'm not really going to trust and depend on putting it out here for now.
The Postal Inspection Service is asking people to collect their mail daily. You can also place a hold on your mail or track it on their website. There's also a $150,000 reward for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the suspect. Tonight in Stockton, a man is behind bars after an attempted kidnapping. Officers say 44-year-old Kenneth Collins is accused of preying on a 9-year-old girl as she was walking to school with her mom. It happened off American Street, just steps away from a charter school. Investigators say Collins approached them and made a gesture of trying to grab the student. They say bystanders led officers to him after he ran away. He's behind bars tonight facing an attempted kidnapping charge. Sacramento police say a homeowner shot a man after he attempted to break into his home. It happened just after 9 this morning off Grand Avenue in the Del Paso Heights neighborhood. Officers say the suspect is in custody and is expected to survive. A fire out in North Highlands damaged 4 condo units this morning. It happened on Stafford Place. Sacramento Metro Fire says 1 person was treated for smoke inhalation. 3 adults and 1 child were displaced, and the cause of this fire is still under investigation. Turning now to the race for the White House, we are just 13 days away from the November election. And tonight, there's new reaction on retired 4-star General John Kelly's searing criticism of former President Donald Trump. For weeks, Vice President Harris has zeroed in on her opponent as an unhinged, unstable candidate. And today, that line of attack is fueled by new scathing comments from former President Trump's longest-serving chief of staff, retired 4-star Marine General John Kelly.
This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions.
In an interview with the New York Times, Kelly says Trump has no concept of the rule of law or constitution, and that he would praise Adolf Hitler, the Nazi leader who orchestrated the murder of 6 million Jews in World War II.
So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Kelly's comments mirror similar reporting in The Atlantic magazine, all of which Trump's campaign calls an outrageous lie. Adding in a statement, John Kelly has totally beclowned himself, calling the stories fabricated, adding Trump has always honored the service and sacrifice of all of our military men and women.
That this is an election about Donald Trump taking full control of the military to use against his political enemies.
Kelly stopped short of offering an endorsement for president, instead urging voters to consider character over policy. On the campaign trail, both Trump and Harris are continuing their battleground blitz. Harris is holding a rally in Atlanta tomorrow with former President Barack Obama, and Trump will be in Tempe, Arizona. And also coming up a little bit later in the show, we are still answering your questions related to Prop 32, the impact that it could have on minimum wage and restaurant prices. Make sure you stay with us, because coming up, how law enforcement could soon have more power in Sacramento County to move homeless encampments.
We're going to continue to see very quiet weather through the beginning of our weekend. Big changes, though, by the end. Much cooler and tracking showers in Northern California.
Plus, California's dying lakes tonight in our week-long investigation. Why a warming climate is the biggest challenge to keep Tahoe blue.
We're adding species to the lake unintentionally and often illegally, and those species can reorganize how nutrients are given to algae that grow at the edge of the lake.
All right, let's get over to the chief, Monica Woods. It was another beautiful day. Things finally cooling down. I'm happy about it. Well, my electric bill is happy about it, I should say.
Yes. Oh, you're right about that. That is such a good point. Yeah, out of the 100s into the 80s. That's where we've been sitting for the past about week or so in much of the region. You can see today, no different. We've been in a pretty stable weather pattern over the past several days. Temperatures holding right around the low 80s, 71 for San Francisco, 70s in the foothills, and 60s for this year. Now, we do have some big changes, though, coming next week. Chance of rain and snow, as well as much cooler weather ahead, and tracking a couple of weather wind events heading our way. The first of which hits us overnight tonight through early tomorrow. Temperatures will start off in the low 50s. We'll see wind gusts up to about 20 to 30 miles per hour. They'll be lighter for the afternoon. Highs will warm to the mid to upper 70s tomorrow. So again, not a lot of change happening in the next couple days or so. We see those increase in winds overnight tonight through early tomorrow. Slightly elevated fire danger. Of course, anytime this time of year when we haven't seen significant rain for several months, anytime we get a little bit of a wind situation going on, that's going to elevate the fire danger. Now let's track those bigger changes. Here comes this low. It's going to move in, bring us a chance of showers developing by our Sunday forecast. Behind that weather system, we'll have the setup for potentially some gusty winds into our Tuesday, which could bump up that fire danger once again. Highs in the 60s tomorrow for the Sierra with 70s down low. Across the coast, we've got a mix of sun and clouds, low 70s inland areas, upper 70s to right around to 80 for tomorrow, despite the fact we start off with lows right around the upper 40s to near 50. Chance of those showers coming through on Sunday into Monday for the Sierra. For the foothills, we'll see that chance of showers on Sunday. And then as we dig deeper into our 3-day forecast, we're going to see the highs drop from the 70s into the 60s. Slight chance of seeing some showers for the valley on Monday. Windy weather ahead on Tuesday.
All right, Monica, thanks. Next, on To the Point, how Sacramento County leaders could soon address homeless encampments. Plus, California's dying lakes. Tonight, we head to Lake Tahoe to see the challenges of keeping the lake blue. Over the past several months, the ABC 10 Weather Impact Team traveled across California, uncovering why some of the state's most popular lakes are dying. Warming temperatures and a changing climate are giving algae and bacteria the upper hand. ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Minchef joins us with part 3 of this 4-part investigation into California's dying lakes.
Lake Tahoe is challenged with keeping the water blue, even when constantly testing for both water quality and clarity. Now, I visited the iconic crystal clear water of Tahoe to see why a warming climate is the biggest challenge to keeping Tahoe blue.
We really rely on the science to figure out what is happening in the lake.
Laura Patton is the Natural Resource Director at the League to Save Lake Tahoe, better known as Keep Tahoe Blue. Patton and other scientists say climate change and recreation are the lake's biggest threats.
We are seeing different impacts from things like air temperature, water temperature, precipitation patterns.
Lake Tahoe is world-renowned for its blue coloring, and there's bumper stickers all over the region that says to keep it that way. But climate change poses a myriad of threats to the lake, so we're asking the question, could Tahoe turn green?
Tahoe's crystal blue water is actually clear. The clear water reflects the blue sky and absorbs red light, making these brilliant hues of blue.
Climate change is absolutely the largest threat to Lake Tahoe's water quality.
She's referring to longer and hotter periods of heat, longer fire seasons, and more erratic storms.
When we think about Lake Tahoe's water quality and the threats that are impacting the water quality today, there are a number of them, and they're interactive. And so we're adding species to the lake unintentionally and often illegally, and those species can reorganize how nutrients are given to algae that grow at the edge of the lake.
Dr. Sudeep Chandra is the director of the University of Nevada's Global Water Center, researching freshwater lakes from Southeast Asia to the Eastern Sierra. Algae most often forms in warm and relatively calm waters. Excess nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus enter the lake via agricultural or stormwater runoff and can act as fertilizer for algae and bacteria growth. Not all algae is toxic though, but when it is, it can be extremely harmful to the ecosystem. Caution signs even line Tahoe's shores when toxic algae overgrowth, known as harmful algal blooms, is detected. Scientists say when a harmful algal bloom happens, options to fight it can be limited. It's more beneficial to stop blooms before they happen.
One thing that we really focus on is actually the prevention of the spread of aquatic invasive plant species. Aquatic invasive plant species make their way primarily through boats. They can also make their way into Tahoe through something like a paddleboard or a kayak. So we really encourage everybody to clean, drain, and dry.
Boat inspections have been mandatory at the lake since 2008, and permanent inspection stations are being placed on both the California and Nevada sides of Tahoe to help keep invasive species out. In 2021, when the Caldor Fire raced towards South Lake Tahoe, Dr. Chandra says its smoke impacts were not really what you might expect.
Not all smoke is created equal. When you have fires, the Caldor fire, that heavy smoke and ash that's deposited closer to the fire turns out to be less reactive, and it doesn't grow as much algae. But the fine, thin particles further away from the fire that maybe make the beautiful sunsets that we see, they actually have a lot of nutrients and metals that can stimulate algae growth.
Wildfire smoke can also impact Lake Tahoe's water quality. Patton adds that the Truckee River, which carries sediment and other particle pollution into Lake Tahoe, also impacts the water quality.
The Upper Truckee River is the largest contributor to fine sediment pollution into Lake Tahoe. We're really focused on restoring marshes and meadows so that those can act as big filters. So the more restoration that we can do in Lake Tahoe, the more we can protect it and keep Tahoe blue.
And the federal government is helping. Congress just reauthorized the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act, extending funding of about $300 million to protect Tahoe's water quality. Since 1997, hundreds of federal projects have restored wetlands, reduced forest fire fuels, and helped control invasive species. But still, more can be done.
I'm worried as a conservation scientist that unless we make some of these subtle changes, that in 10 or 20 years, our kids won't have the ability to change things back. And there are little things that we can do that would protect the lake in big ways into the future.
Tomorrow, the ABC 10 Weather Impact team travels to Lake Elsinore, Southern California's largest freshwater lake. It's being brought back to life and could serve as a roadmap for survival.
And if you missed any of this ABC 10 Weather Impact Team series, California's Dying Lakes, you can stream it right now for free on the ABC 10 Plus app. The app is available wherever you stream. The Sacramento County Board of Supervisors could soon give law enforcement more power to move unhoused people off public property without providing a shelter bed. And it comes after the Supreme Court ruled back in June that camping on public property is illegal. So if passed, the amendment would simplify the county's existing ban on camping near critical infrastructure to unlawful camping on all public property. It would require officials to give homeless people 48 hours notice before clearing camps and vehicles off public property, except when an encampment poses an imminent threat to public health or safety or is less than 1,000 feet of a shelter. Sacramento County's district attorney spoke in favor of the changes.
Law enforcement can come here and do what I call compassionate enforcement. And that's what the county is trying to do right now, and I think it's a great job in doing so.
County supervisors are expected to vote on the proposed amendments next month. And coming up tomorrow and To the Point, we'll have a firsthand look at how the county is continuing to respond to these calls and the services that are being offered. Next on To the Point, of course, we're answering your questions about how Prop 32 could impact minimum wages and restaurant prices. Welcome back. ABC 10 is working to connect you with the information that you need to vote in this upcoming election. And our team is taking your questions and getting you answers. Here's reporter Brandon Rittiman.
Sharon asked us about Prop 32, the minimum wage question. She wants to know, will raising the minimum wage continue to drive restaurant prices even higher? Well, we have a whole video explaining Prop 32 and its plan to increase California's minimum wage to $18 an hour instead of the forecast $16.50 next year. And the answer, Sharon, is not a sure thing, but it could lead to a bigger check for your next meal. Whenever labor costs go up, business owners have options for dealing with that. Raising prices is one of them, if it doesn't scare the customers away. Businesses can also keep prices the same and just absorb the cost, reducing their profits. Others might say employees could do with less of those, and that's why you can't just walk up to a Taco Bell counter anymore and tell somebody what you want. They replace the workers with you. You got to do the work of tapping the screen to build your order. And whatever your guilty fast food pleasure, Sharon, I should tell you Prop 32 shouldn't make that cost more because California recently enacted a new special minimum wage of $20 an hour for most fast food workers. That's not going to change whether Prop 32 passes or fails. Thank you so much for the question, Sharon. Now I'm hungry, though.
All right, and if you have questions of your own, you can send them to us right now. Just head over to abc10.com/vote and you will find our survey where you can tell us what else you want to know about voting and the election. As always, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. If you have something that you think we should be looking into, make sure to reach out to me and the team. And remember, strangers are just people we haven't gotten the chance to meet yet. So take the time to get to know someone. And To the Point does not end here. To watch stories featured right here on our show, we have a free app. It's the ABC 10 Plus app, and you can stream it wherever you get your streaming services from. Have a great night, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.